Sure. In Texas, a DWI is when you're pulled over by the police department and they suspect that you're driving while intoxicated. What that basically means is you're operating a motor vehicle on a public highway while you're intoxicated.
Well, DWI is when you are highly intoxicated and you operate a vehicle, not necessarily a car. It could be other things like a piece of machinery. People have been arrested for riding lawnmowers. So anything that moves by a motor is considered DWI. So if you are highly intoxicated and you're operating something that moves by a motor, then you could be arrested for DWI. A lot of people can spend a lot of money on going to the bars or buying alcohol, for example. So if someone spends their paycheck, maybe not their entire paycheck, but the majority of paycheck on going to the bars or buying alcohol, well, that leaves little money for other things like paying rent or paying other things that the family needs. So, you know, someone who is highly addicted to alcohol can affect their family members in that particular way. The other way that they can be affected is by, of course, you know, if you're highly intoxicated and you can't go to work, and so therefore you miss a lot of work, and so you can get fired for missing a lot of work. So, you know, if you are, for example, supporting your family and yet you get fired, then your family is also hurting because of your alcoholism. But your actions while you're under intoxicated can also affect everyone around you. Like, you know, like I said earlier, how, you know, you're highly intoxicated, you can't go to work and you get fired. Well, you lost your job. Now you can't support your family in that situation. But another way that they can also affect is, like, you know, if an individual gets a DWI and they drive a car and they kill someone, for example, well, now that the victim's family now is impacted because obviously they lost someone that they love. So your alcoholism can also hurt other members as well.
It was the 23rd. We were still open a little late because, you know, the Christmas season, people rushing in and out to get last minute gifts. I don't know why I remember this specifically, but I actually broke a nail, and I asked her if she had a nail clipper, and she said, no, but just tear it off, just tear it off. And she kept encouraging me. And I said, Shannon, I need a nail clipper. And finally I just tore it off, and she was just one of those people who would tease you for anything, but in a very good-natured way. And she said, I can't believe you tore it off. And, you know, and I roll my eyes and I think, man, you told me to. And anyway, so we were discussing our plans for that night, because the 24th we were going to be open, you know, until about 5, 6 o'clock, just to get the last minute shoppers out of the way, but, you know, have some time to go home, settle down, get ready for the Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And me, her, my boss, they went ahead and, you know, he just asked us, oh, you know, what are you girls gonna be doing tonight? And I said, oh, you know, I'm not doing anything. I'm just gonna go home. I don't have any shopping to do. I don't have anybody to, you know, go to a party with. I'm just gonna go home and relax. And she said, you know, oh, well, I'm gonna go ahead and go home, get ready. I'm going to a party with Josh and Isaiah at their dad's house. So I just remember, you know, we walked to our cars together because we always park together to be safe, and I gave her a hug and I told her, you know, be safe, Shannon. And that was the last time that I saw her. I'm 22, you know, I don't really drink. I can't say much because I don't know what it's like, but, you know, you affect a lot more people than just yourself when you drink and drive, especially if you end up killing someone. Because it's not, you know, oh, your mom and dad have to deal with, oh, you know, my son was drinking and driving, my daughter was drinking and driving. You know, you take away a future. And, you know, whether your future is spent in jail or you manage to get off, just remember that the person that you killed doesn't have a future anymore because of your actions.
This is what we call our tree of life, because for us, they're still alive in the victims' hearts. In their hearts, I mean, they're still alive. I mean, this is nothing. This is maybe not even a third of our victims, but, you know, it does depends if they give us the permission to have their pictures up there. But a DWI, it can cost so much. I mean, if it's not gonna cost you in your pocket, which is first DWI is anywhere from $15,000 to $17,000. Right away when they put those cuffs on you, that's how much they're going to charge you, $15,000 to $17,000. Plus, they take away your license for 3 years, and you have to pay to get your license back. That's the first DWI. Second DWI, it's $3,000 that you pay for 3 years until you get it, until you finish your probation, and it's even higher. I've seen somebody pay, the most I've seen somebody pay in a DWI was they were already at $84,000. So after the third DWI, or actually if you even try to get a fourth DWI, you should already end up in jail. But it all depends on the probation officer, it all depends on the attorney, it all depends on the judge. From what I see here in El Paso, unfortunately, back then when I started, they used to say 1 out of 3 individuals are going to be affected. So in your classroom, when you see those individuals, you pick up 1 out of 3 is going to be hit by a drunk driver. Now, unfortunately, they're saying that it's 2 out of 3. What I've seen the 12 years that I've been working here is that the individuals that are drinking are younger. They're getting younger, and it's sad because when I go to the classes, I have, individuals that are about 21, 22, and already have 2 or 3 DWIs. They're gonna go out. If anybody's gonna go out there and have a good time, have a plan. Even look out for the roads. Unfortunately, we have to look out for the roads. If you're stopped in a stoplight, look out and make sure, if the light turns green, just don't take it right away. Make sure that you look, because there might be somebody that, makes that bad decision, and hopefully that person doesn't pay with their life, but just look around. And like I said, we're trying to change. We're here to try to help out the victims. That's our first thing. That's our most important thing here, that we do support groups for the victims, but one thing we can never get them back is that they want their loved one back, and we just can't. But we can, as a community, we can all change the roads out there. We can all make that decision to have a plan and make those roads safer, because it is 100% preventable. And we actually changed our logo, where we used to say we're going to stop drunk driving. No, we're going to end drunk driving. And we know that eventually we're going to have a future that we're going to end drunk driving. As a matter of fact, they're even making a car where it kind of will test your breath before you get inside the car. And if it tests that you're intoxicated, that car's not going to start. Unfortunately,